ACC preview. I'm going to start with Florida State. #1 team. Everybody's picking to win this conference, also the division. I like what they have. They have E.J. Manuel. It's time for him to take over the reins at quarterback position. I love this Florida State team. They also have depth at the running back position with Lonnie Pryor at fullback, Chris Thompson. They have Jermaine Thomas. They have two good freshmen in 5-star James Wilder Jr. from Plant, and they also have Devontae Freeman, who's been tearing it up since he got there in spring. I like what they also have at the wide receiver position. I love Willie Halstead. I think he's going to have a breakout year. He's definitely a guy you name. I think he's the best all-around receiver that they have. Burt Reed in the slot. He's one of those guys who you can't cover the slot. He's just so fast, and he's just a playmaker in the slot position. I want to see what they do at the other wide receiver, at the X position. Who's going to step up over there? Will it be Rodney Smith? Will it be Christian Green, former 5-star guy? I want to see who's on that other side, on the outside, who's going to step up for them. They have also other guys like Kelvin Benjamin, and they have Kenny Shaw. They have depth at the wide receiver position. Now let's see if they could take it over the top. I want to see what they do with the tight end position. Tight end position is really tricky because Bo Rutherford, who's a great pass catching tight end, is supposed to be having some academic issues. He was suspended or ruled academically ineligible for spring and the bowl game last year against South Carolina. So I want to see what they're going to do there. I think they have a good backup, good replacement for him anyway, Nick O'Leary, freshman. I think he's going to be a great tight end for years to come. Their offensive line, they have depth at tackle position, but it's the inside I'm really worried about. I like Andrew Dacko and Zebu Sanders at the left and the right tackle. I think Dacko is going to end up being an NFL first, second round type of lineman. I want to see what they do there. I want to see how the two guard spots and the center spots hold up for them. I think they had the answer at center with the Jacob kid that they got from JUCO last year. So he should be able to step right in and do what he has and control that. And now I just want to see what they do with the center, the two guard spots. The defensive line, they're loaded at defensive line. They have another JUCO guy that they have. They have the kid from at the end position, the kid from Boren Warner from Germany. They have Brandon Jenkins, who's one of the best linemen in the whole of college football, pass rushing wise. I love what they have, the depth that they have up front. When it comes to McDaniels, or it goes to Tim Jernigan, freshman, or it goes to McLeod, or it goes to Everett Dawkins, they have depth and talent, and that's really hard to find. At the linebacker position, they're really athletic and scary fast over there. You already know what you have with Nigel Bradham, who's going to be probably a first-round pick. You have former 5-star on the other outside linebacker spot, and Christian Jones. And the thing is, who's going to be that middle? Who's going to start at middle linebacker? I want to see what they have. They have Vince Williams, who's been there, or they have Telvin Smith or Jeff Luck. Which one of them is going to really take over that middle linebacker spot? I like what they have at corner. They have the best corner tandem probably in all of college football. Greg Reed, who's a playmaker, punt return or kick return game, and can change the field position even when it comes to defense with intercepting the football and taking it to the house. Xavier Rhodes is really turning into a lockdown type of corner. I think those are two NFL players at corner that they have, and they have depth behind those guys as well. At the safety position, I love what they have. They have Carlos Williams at safety, former 5-star. They have another 5-star guy at safety in LaMarcus Joyner, who's probably going to take over one of the starting spots. Also have Terrence Parks, who's a returning starter, and Nick Moody, who's a returning starter, who also will be looked at in different packages. I want to see what this Florida State, because every time this Florida State team always seems to find a way to disappoint, and they never seem to exceed expectation. So I really want to see how this team looks. Go on to Clemson. Clemson is the same story. They have like Florida State, amazing talent on the offensive side. Even though they're young, you got Tajay Boyd, who's going to take over, who I think will fit in that system that they're trying to run. He's the quarterback for their system that they like. Tajay Boyd is going to be really, really good. Andre Ellington, if he could stay healthy with Mike Bellamy, who is going to be a stud, who people say Mike Bellamy is the next CJ Spiller over there. If you could have that tandem back there, it's good. It's going to be great for them. They're very young at the receiver position. I like DeAndre Hopkins. I think he could be a playmaker, star in the ACC. He's definitely a name to watch out for this year. But they also have these young freshmen coming in with Sammy Watkins and Sharon Peak and Martavius Bryant. I think those guys could step up, even though they're freshmen. But I think they have the talent enough to do it. Tight end position, they have the best tight end probably in the whole conference. And Dwayne Casey, I mean, he's the best over there. Their offensive line is solid. They have four to five guys returning on that offensive line, so I think that's going to be fine. No way. To me, is what's going to happen with that defense. They're led by Brandon Tompkins. They run that 34 look. Brandon Tompkins is going to be the nose guard. I want to see where they're going to be able to get a pass rush from. I think linebackers, they're very young at linebackers, but they're very talented. You got 2 5-star guys there. You have Tony Stewart there. Also with Stephen Anthony over there. So I want to see what they do there. The secondary is going to be a question for me because they lost a lot of leadership. They lost Gilchrist and they lost and McDaniels to the draft and NFL. But I really like this team a lot. I like to see what they can do going forward. I think these are the 2 top teams in that conference, in that division, and mainly to see they're going to be battling it out. Boston College. Boston College is one of those teams where I can see them as a dark horse. But they just have so many questions. Is who's going to be the starting quarterback? Is it going to be Dave Shinsky or is it going to be Case Reddick? I want to see what they do there. Montel Harris, the best running back in that whole conference, he's going to be good. But if it's him or bust because there's no depth behind him, I think. Also, who's going to step up at the wide receiver position? They have 3 solid guys who were young last year, and Bobby Swaggart, Alex Amond, and Colin Lamar Jr. But I want to see what they can do there. Their offensive line has to play way better than they did last year. They was very, very, very poor on offensive line towards the end of the season. Defense, their defensive line is a concern. Where they're going to get a pass rush from, where they have depth at. I don't think they have the talent right now with the defensive line, or their talent is really, really young. I like their linebackers. They have probably one of the 2 best linebackers that nobody's really heard of, and Luke Kuechly and Kevin Pierre-Louis. I really want to see where that goes there. And I also want to see what the defensive side of the ball looks like. But I think a play to watch, especially on that at that corner position, is going to be Albert. It's going to be Albert Louis Jean. I think he's going to be good. But also, I think Boston College also can, if they can keep Montel Harris safe and one of the quarterbacks can be consistent, I think they have a shot to challenge Clemson or Florida State. Maryland, I want to see what they do with Randy Edsall, how the team respond to him in his first year there. I wonder if Danny O'Brien, the quarterback, who's a very solid, good quarterback, I want to see how he does when it comes to will he go through that sophomore slump because he was the rookie of the year last year, passing for almost over 2,500 yards and 22 touchdowns. Had a very solid turnover, touchdown to interception ratio passing. I want to see what that happens. Can David Maggette, can he replace Darryl Scott, who was a draft pick by the Giants this year? I want to see where that can happen. I want to see who's going to step up and help replace Torrey Smith's production at the wide receiver position. They have a very solid offensive line. They got a couple starters back from there. I love their offensive line. On the defensive side, I want to see who's going to become that leader that Alex Wozniacki was last year, who they lost to the draft as well. They have good depth at corner, but they're very thin at safety, especially up there. And who's going to be the guy that over there that's going to help? I think at their defensive line, you could look out for guys like Keith Bowers, freshman, or Quentin Jefferson as well, to see how that defense, how Maryland can build on that defense that they have. But I think Maryland is a couple years away from really being good. Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a team that's really disappointed me the last couple of years because they had that one magic run in 2007 where they won the Orange Bowl against Louisville, but then after that it just went downhill. Can Tanner Price be that quarterback to replace Riley Skinner? Because that's who they've been looking for the past year, and it was kind of up and down. They didn't know who they wanted at the quarterback position. I like the combo of Josh Harris, who a freshman last year, who bursted onto the scene at that Virginia Tech game with 241 yards. And I want to see how Brandon Pendergrass, if he could stay healthy this year, can he return to that form that how he was when he was a redshirt freshman. I hope he can do that because I've seen the kid play and I know he's really good. The wide receiver position, they have a lot of questions there. They have Chris Givens, who I think could be good, but other than that, they don't have guys that are proven or I think are talented enough right about now to step in and become starters, especially in the ACC when you got a couple of good corners. They're switching to a 34 look. I want to know, do they have the personnel for that? I don't really think so. It's gonna come sooner or later, hopefully. They was one of the worst pass defending teams, the secondary. I hope does that improve as well, but I think it will. So let's see what happens there. I think Arian Willis, who will probably be a wide receiver or a defensive back, but I think he's more of a receiver. He can help in that offense as well. Also, one thing about Wake Forest's offense, they have a very good offensive line led by Joe Looney, who's a senior, and I think that offensive line can really help the running game, especially with Josh Harris and Brandon Pendergrass, where they're going to be leaning a lot on. NC State to me is the dark horse to win the conference. Mike Glennon is the future, people. He is really good. I think he's a first-round NFL quarterback when he comes out. He has all the intangibles, I believe. He has the physical abilities with arm strength and accuracy. He knows the knowledge in the pocket. And I think he's the reason why that Russell Wilson is not there, because Coach O'Brien knew that he wanted Mike Glennon as a starter. And that's the reason why it was so easy for him to say goodbye to Russell Wilson. They have questions at running back and a wide receiver position. I don't see where the talent. That's the only thing that's probably going to hurt his production this year, because I don't see where he's going to help him talent-wise at the running back and wide receiver positions. But he does have a very good tight end, probably the second best tight end in George Bryant, who could have left to go to the NFL last year. He would have probably been one of the top tight ends picked, but he didn't leave. They have to improve that offensive line. Gave up 39 sacks last year, the worst in the conference. And I just want to see also that defense is really good. I think their defense is really underrated. They have a really solid front seven. I want to see how the back four, the secondary looks. But I think that if they can find an answer, just some type of offense, I think they can be a dark horse to probably win the ACC. Like I said before, I love Florida State, but to me, I really think Florida State will end up winning, but I'm going to pick Clemson. I just want to see how it's going to be big, because how does Florida State react after that Oklahoma game if they win or lose? And also just the expectations that they have. Every time Florida State has expectation, it seems that they fall short. And having that bullseye on their back of number 5 in the country and the pick to win it all in the ACC, I want to see how they respond to that. I hope they can do it, because I really like this team. But I think all in all, that first ACC game at Clemson, I think Clemson, if there are guys in the second in the defensive areas can grow up quickly, those young talented 5-star guys, if they can grow up, this team's going to be really dangerous. So I'm picking Clemson to win the Atlantic Division. I wanted to pick Florida State, but it just always had that thing in the back of my mind how Florida State always just seems to disappoint when they have great expectations to face. But let me know what you guys think.